Hello, loved ones. Welcome to the Whose Life Is It Anyway podcast. We made this for you who are now ready to help create a world that works for everyone. Enjoy.
Hello, everybody. We are talking to Krystalya Marie today. And Krystalya Marie is an international speaker, trainer, and self-empowerment guide. So she empowers you to discover your innate abilities for healing your body, mind, and spirit. And she healed a golf-sized lump in her breast with Krystagraphs that she had drawn. So she began creating these Krystagraphs for healing all types of ailment. And now she shares them with the whole world. And she's also the inner peace director for 10 Million Clicks for Peace, best-selling co-author with Deepak Chopra in the Wake Up book series, and author of 1 Minute Energy Tune-Up series of books and products. So Welcome, Krystalya.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Yeah.
We have been waiting eagerly to meet you. You were one of the first to actually respond to our email. Reaching out, and so we were very, very happy finally to meet you in person.
I'm delighted to be here.
So the title of this whole series is "Whose Life Is It Anyway?" And what is your take on that?
Well, my take is that most of us live our lives doing what other people want us to do, and unfortunately, we're not typically happy doing what the other people wanted us to do. We're not living our real purpose here in life. And I did that for many years. I'm well aware. And pretty much have lost most of my family and friends because I went another direction, and I love them. But, I felt that it was important to really be happy and fulfilled. And what I was doing was not happy or fulfilling. I walked away from a 6-figure career in the computer industry one day by walking in and handing them the computer and saying, "I'm done."
Right.
And I never looked back.
And your family didn't approve of you giving up your big salary and all that?
Oh, they probably didn't. I mean, they're okay with it, but I also changed my name. It took years for them to even think about calling me my new name. And so it's been an interesting journey, but I don't let any of that bother me. It's like, okay, whatever.
So what spurred you on to make that change? What happened?
Well, interesting enough, the reason I chose that career was my first husband said, "You're not smart enough to be a computer person."
Yeah.
Okay, so that was really how I got in that industry. And then I aced the IBM logic test to the point they're like, "We want to hire you."
Wow.
So, but what happened was, and I think maybe I'm wrong, but I felt like it was so much discrimination against women. Like, I worked way more hours than the guys did typically, and they just expected more and more. And of course, my self-esteem allowed them to take that control too. And I was traveling at that point as a consultant in the industry, and the people that lived locally, they got to go home at 5 o'clock. And when I questioned it, they're like, "Oh, well, we're paying for your hotel. You have to work until all hours of the night." And
great logic.
One evening, I was in my hotel room working, and I started to shake, and I could not control the shaking. And I suddenly knew that I would not be alive in 5 years if I didn't just walk away.
All right.
And I walked away. It took me about 6 months. I had a pension or invested stock. I was waiting for it to come through, and that's the day I walked in and handed them the computer. And one of my friends working in the office said she overheard the manager saying, "There's no way she'll ever work in this city ever again over my dead body." But I've made it. I've not had a career since, and I've had lots of guidance that's got me where I am today.
So where, what direction did that intersection take you in?
Well, initially it was really just soul searching as to what I wanted to do. I thought I was going to open a retreat center. I was really into the spiritual movement. And fast forward a couple years into that, I was guided by a psychic friend who said, oh, this company really is doing this environmental project, and I think you'd really enjoy that, and it would help you get the money you need to build the center. And it turned out, after working that business and traveling to Michigan from Houston and then from Sedona for a while, it turned out the guy was a total fraud, and by then I was broke.
Oh man.
Woke up one morning after and I spent a year with the FBI undercover on my dime trying to catch him. And they wanted me to go in with a wire where there was no way that they could get to me. And I refused, and they dropped the entire case.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's been a wild journey. And then I woke up one morning and called my broker to put some money in to pay the mortgage. And he said, what money?
Ooh. Ouch.
Yeah, so I didn't lose the house. I had miracle after miracle that guided me, and I kept listening, and realtors thought I was crazy. I quickly listed the house for sale by owner for $225, and the realtor that had sold it to me calls me up. Oh, I wouldn't take that listing for less than $208. And I said, well, that's you, bye.
Yeah.
And I kept listening to guidance, and I got a little job for a little bit, and then I came back and I relisted it, and I gradually increased the price to $260 or $277, and I sold it for cash for $265 within a week of changing the price to that. All by spiritual guidance. Everyone thought I had lost my mind. And I landed a job immediately after that unfortunately was claims adjusting for Hurricane Wilma. So unfortunate, because all those people were hurt by that storm, but made $40,000 in 6 weeks. And from there, I got other little things and continued my path to bringing this work to the world.
And the work you're doing, what are the Krystagraphs? Tell us about that.
Well, there are these images like this one here on the back, or this one here on my neck. This is the total health one.
Mm-hmm.
But they are these little drawings, and I gave up Reiki when they told me symbols were involved.
Mm-hmm.
Spirit has such a sense of humor, right? And 3 years later, a friend introduced me to a book called Gifts for the Soul, which is no longer published. So if people don't waste your time looking, you won't find it. Anyway, as I was flying across country, I was still in the corporate world at that point, and it had these images, and every time I would look at one of them, I would start sobbing. And I was flying in first class, and I'm like, oh, people are going to notice. And I quickly put it away, and then I'd pull it back out and it'd start all over. And when I got off the plane, I called about 5 or 6 friends and said, you got to buy this book now. I ended up studying with her, and she was the person that taught me that I had a belief. I'd done self-esteem and self-love work for 30 years. Things had gotten better. Obviously, I walked away from that career, but they still weren't that great. And she discovered, or with me, worked on a belief that was at the core that God would punish me if I loved myself.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah. And so, I'm doing all these affirmations about loving myself and all is well. Well, how much good were they going to do? Yes, they made a small dent, but my subconscious kept saying, really? God's going to punish you if you do that.
Yeah.
So once I changed that belief, things really started changing. I became one of her practitioners with her soul retrieval work. And then I discovered this lump the size of a golf ball in my breast in 2001. And I did all the work she taught me. I did all this other work. And then all of a sudden, there I was. It was still there. And I'm visiting a medical intuitive, because by that time I was living near Sedona, and I was like talking to every healer in town, right? And there's plenty there.
Quite a few in that area.
Yeah. Anyway, this medical intuitive one day says to me, you got to draw those images floating in your aura. And I was like, I rolled my eyes, said, yeah, right. Have a good day.
Yeah.
And the next day I drew 65 images.
What?
And I didn't know what any of them were for. And when I would ask, Spirit would say, we'll tell you later. Are they colored? Yes. What color? We'll tell you later. So the first one that I was finally guided fully to draw is the one that's called Love and Trust, which is up in that corner right there. Right up here, this one.
Okay.
And it was all about trusting the process. And so I then drew one that looked like an angel, and it was going to be called the Angel of Self-Nurturing. Well, breasts have to do with nurturing. Yeah. So the third one I drew looked like a jellyfish. And I'm like, what's that for? And they said, take it to the medical intuitive. She's got a brown recluse spider bite. It'll remove the toxic poison in her body because she'd been trying to remove it. So I took it to her and she's like, oh my God, that worked instantly.
Interesting.
So, yeah. And so the next day I'm in meditation and Spirit says, and we'll show you how to use it to remove that lump. So I listened and noted everything that was needed to be done and did the process. The process took 20 minutes and the lump was gone.
Okay.
What?
Now, full disclosure,
Crazy.
I didn't actually check till the next morning because I didn't believe it either.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
but yeah, and that was 2001, early 2002. By the time I got the symbol, I think it was early 2002. Hasn't come back since. So
That's so interesting. Like we can be separated. Like I know that what you're saying is true and possible, and still I have the skeptic from all I've been taught before.
Right.
That became
Yeah.
So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that can't be true. And at the same time, something in me is like, yes, we know this is possible. We know that instant healing is possible. There's so many stories of this.
Right.
So that it's amazing meeting people that have had it happen, and you know that it's real.
Well,
So
you know, when you think about it, everything is energy, and everything we come in contact with affects our energy.
Yeah.
And we know that, but still there's
Right.
this stuff. And I've had an experience like that when I was how do you say it? I just turned 11. That's how you say it. My English isn't that good. Sorry.
Your English is really good, actually.
I just turned 11 years old.
Mhm.
And I like to draw when I was at that age. I still do, but so one evening I was drawing this picture of a small dragon, like a cartoon dragon.
Mhm.
And I felt a bit weird, and I put it on my desk and I went to sleep, and I felt weird about that drawing. There was something about it. And at that point I knew that I could do something with energy, but I didn't talk with anyone about it because that was just weird, you know.
Right.
And the next morning I woke up and I've gotten my period.
Oh, wow.
For the first time. And I felt that it has something to do with that picture.
Mhm.
So I brought it to school, and I gave it to a friend of mine in class and said, take this drawing and put it on your desk and tell me if something has happened in tomorrow in the morning. And she did. She brought it home and put it on her desk, and the next morning she came to class and I asked her, so did anything happen? And she was weird. And she said, well, I don't want to talk about it. No, I don't think anything has happened. And I said, well, because you're kind of weird. So what did happen? Something must have happened. And she took me aside and she said, well, I got my period. And I was like, what? That is so weird. So I got a little bit afraid of it. I still have that when I'm drawing something, like just doodling, because I know it's energy, but I don't know what kind of energy it is.
Right. Yep, I understand. In fact, frequently I'm asked, like, do you have a symbol for something? And I have a stack of doodles. And I'll say, okay, have I already drawn the symbol for that? Well, first I ask, is there a symbol for that? And if I get a yes, then I'll say, have I already drawn it as one of my doodles? And if I get a yes, then I go through that and muscle check till I find which one. And otherwise I draw from scratch. But I have probably got 100 or more doodles sitting there waiting to be identified.
Okay.
So I do understand. It's amazing, and it's a very different thing, but it works. I mean, I've helped people all around the world. I just recently helped a fellow with leukemia and walked him through a process to use a couple of the symbols. And the hospital where he's at are calling him their miracle patient and telling him, keep doing whatever you're doing, just keep doing it.
It's quite interesting.
Wow.
Like we're talking about this overarching theme of whose life is it anyway? So we have
Right.
this, we have our own lives, but there's also something being lived through us. Like you have these symbols coming through you, or Katrine has that dragon come through. I've also been working with different kinds of energy stuff where I talk to God. I don't do anything. I talk to God and God does the work, but I haven't seen, like, I've seen a lot of energetic shift, but not something as profound as like a breast cancer going away or somebody's period starting. So there's something being lived through us.
Right.
And you're also talking about yourself being guided. So it's quite profound.
Yeah, it really is profound. I've had some very wild events happening in my life that, literally saved my life because I listened to that spiritual guidance. And
Yeah.
so I've learned that no matter what anybody tells me, source is the first place to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I know I have a lot of people think I'm crazy, and it's okay. I don't really care what people think.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
It's my life, right?
Especially in these days, like you have to disregard a lot of what's being put upon you.
Yes, for sure. For sure.
How do people come to work with? I know you have a lovely gift for the audience of all of this. Could you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's an audio program, but it also includes some of the Krystagraphs, or symbols. And what it is it's called peak performance energy, also known as boundless energy, depending on what page I happen to send people to. But it's all about teaching people how to first open your chakras and get the energy flowing. Because if we have a blockage from any belief, whatever, we can block our chakras. That'll deplete our energy very quickly. So you first start there, and that takes 20 seconds. Okay. And then there's other symbols in there that help you with some of your beliefs around where if you find a blockage, how to correct those beliefs. And then there's also one that's called high energy, which I like to joke. Have you ever been in a meeting that's so boring you're like nodding off?
Yeah.
Who hasn't?
Well, if you hold that symbol against the palm of your non-dominant hand in that boring meeting, you'll wake up right away. And I'm not the only one that's had that experience. So,
or if there's any like office people listening to this, this will be a great thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
that's what the gift is, and there's an audio that guides people through some of the
And
steps.
that's
and so
all
on.
going to be included in the email that goes out with this. So they will actually see the link to that before they probably see the interview. But it's good to like hear about it.
Good.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked what you just saw, head on over to whoselifeisitsummit.com/podcast, where you can find full-length episodes as well as in audio format, and we do a lot of other cool stuff. You can hang out with us and other like-minded individuals who want to create a world that works for everyone, and we do that on our platform where we can chat, and we have Q&As and exclusive interviews as well. So there's so much to get over there. So come on over and play with us.